My wife introduced me as just a friend who drives me around. Her mother stood at my door, trembling, eyes swollen, lips quivering as though words were shards of glass she couldn't bear to spit out. I didn't move, just watched, one hand on the doorframe, the other clutching the keys I hadn't let go of in 2 weeks. She tried to speak, but the first sound cracked into a sob. It filled the small hallway like a confession neither of us wanted to hear. I knew the look, desperation mixed with shame. It was the same expression I'd seen on my wife's face once, when she realized I'd caught her lie before she even finished telling it. Her mother whispered my name as if I was the last thread holding her world together. And at that moment I understood. The storm I had been waiting for had finally arrived. The dinner, the smirk, the words that stripped me bare in front of strangers. Just a friend who drives me around. Paid for with my card, endured with my silence. I'd left that night without a scene, but my silence was never surrender. It was calculation. Now the cracks were spreading, and she had come to me. Not her daughter, not the man her daughter had chosen in the shadows, but to me. Because deep down, they all knew I was the one who understood control. That dinner had been the pivot, the moment my wife's mask slipped enough for the world to glimpse what I'd always suspected. We had been married 6 years. On paper, we looked seamless. A real estate attorney with a firm on the rise, a wife with charm sharp enough to open any door I hadn't already forced. Together we hosted, entertained, projected the illusion of success. But illusions don't last. The way she introduced me that night wasn't a mistake. It was intention, designed to shrink me in front of her colleagues, to erase the man who built the very table we sat at. She looked at me as if I should be grateful for crumbs of recognition. That smirk, cold, almost gleeful. Be grateful I even brought you. I had smiled then, a quiet smile that concealed the decision forming inside me. I didn't argue, didn't protest. I simply picked up the keys, walked out, and left her with the bill I had already covered. She thought silence meant weakness. She didn't know silence is where power begins. I began watching. Not her face. Faces lie too easily. But her patterns. Phone calls answered in the other room. Sudden meetings that ended too late for work and too early for excuses. Receipts she forgot to hide in her purse. Hotels. Wine. A man's cologne she never wore. I didn't confront. I documented. Real estate law teaches patience. Contracts aren't broken in the moment. They unravel line by line, clause by clause, until all that remains is the naked truth. So I unraveled her. I hired no investigator. I didn't need one. I had access, foresight, discipline. Bank statements cross-checked with her credit card charges. GPS records from the car she never realized was synced to my account. A copy of her phone backup pulled from our shared cloud. And finally, DNA. Not of a child, but of her. A stray strand of hair on my passenger seat, sent against a sample from his discarded glass, stolen from a firm networking event I attended under the guise of casual presence. The man was a partner, a CEO of a rival firm, married, father of 2. Every detail sharpened the blade I was shaping in silence. The evidence arrived in an envelope. Plain, clinical, indisputable. Her affair wasn't an accident. It was systematic. A parallel life carved out with precision. And at its center, her mockery of me. I didn't explode. I set the envelope on our dining table. When she came home, I slid it across the wood without a word. She opened it, read, paled. Her lips parted, searching for excuses, explanations, a story she could weave into something less damning. But the reports didn't bend. They stood rigid, immutable, like the law itself. She whispered my name once, soft, desperate. I stayed silent, watching her sink into the gravity of her own betrayal. I didn't divorce her immediately. That would have been mercy. Instead, I rewrote the narrative she had crafted at my expense. Contracts, filings, evidence, structured carefully, delivered with precision. Her lover's wife received copies of everything. So did the firm's board of directors. Anonymous, of course. The kind of anonymous that can never be traced back, but always points exactly where it needs to. Her world collapsed in whispers first, then accusations, then the public unraveling of her perfect life. She begged for conversation, for a chance to explain. One night, she finally cornered me, eyes hollow. "Why are you doing this?" My voice was flat. "You introduced me as your driver. That was all. Nothing more." Her face broke, as though those words weighed more than any courtroom sentence. 2 weeks later, her mother came to me, in tears, apologizing, pleading. She wanted me to forgive, to remember the woman I once loved, to believe in something salvageable. But love had been extracted from me like marrow from bone. All that remained was clarity. I listened. I nodded. I said nothing. When she left, I closed the door and returned to my desk, where new contracts waited for review. Clean, structured, uncomplicated. The silence was no longer heavy. It was freedom. And as I signed my name at the bottom of the page, I realized something. She had introduced me as just a friend who drives me around. But in the end, I was the one who drove her entire life off the cliff.